When you marry someone, you don't just marry them, you marry their entire family. Or at least, that's what they say. I always thought I had a great relationship with my in-laws. We'd have weekly dinners, celebrate holidays together, and I truly felt like their daughter. My husband, Mark, was their only son, and they adored him. And through him, they seemed to adore me. But everything changed the day Mark died. It was sudden, a car accident. One minute he was on his way home from work, the next he was gone. The world shattered. The grief was a physical force, a crushing weight that made it hard to breathe, to think, to exist. My in-laws, his parents, were devastated, of course. We clung to each other at the hospital, our shared pain a fragile temporary bridge between us. In those first few days, they were my rock. They helped with the funeral arrangements. They made sure I ate. They sat with me in silence when the words wouldn't come. I thought, at least we have each other. We'll get through this together. I was so wrong. The funeral was a blur of black clothes and hushed condolences. The day after, I woke up feeling like I was surfacing from a deep, dark ocean. The house was too quiet. Every corner held a memory of Mark, his laugh echoing in the hallway, his scent lingering on the pillows. I knew I had to start facing the impossible reality of a life without him. My in-laws had stayed over for a few nights, and I was grateful for their presence. That morning they said they needed to run a few errands. I just nodded, too exhausted to ask questions. A few hours later I decided to take a short walk, just to get some fresh air. When I came back, my key wouldn't work. I jiggled it, pushed it, but the lock wouldn't turn. Confusion turned to a cold, creeping dread. I knocked. No answer. I called my father-in-law. It went straight to voicemail, then my mother-in-law, same thing. Panic started to set in. I could hear noises from inside the house. My house, Mark's and my house. I started banging on the door, shouting their names. Finally, the door opened a crack. It was my mother-in-law. Her face was a mask I didn't recognize. It was cold, hard. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Why did you change the locks?" She didn't answer my question. Instead, she said, "We need to talk." She opened the door wider, and my heart stopped. Behind her, in our living room, were boxes. Boxes filled with their belongings. A lamp I recognized from their house was already on an end table. My father-in-law was in the kitchen, taking down our wedding photos from the refrigerator. I felt the ground disappear from under me. "What is happening?" I whispered. "This is our son's house," my father-in-law said, his voice flat, devoid of the warmth I once knew. "We're moving in." "Moving in?" I repeated, the words tasting like poison. "This is my home, our home." "It was our son's home," my mother-in-law corrected me. "He paid for it. It belongs to the family, to us." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt like a nightmare. These were the people who had held my hand and cried with me just days before. Now they were looking at me like I was an intruder. I saw my wedding album on a pile of things near the door, labeled, "to be stored." They were erasing me. They weren't just moving in, they were moving me out. "You can't do this," I said, a surge of adrenaline cutting through the fog of grief. "This is illegal. This house is in my name too." My father-in-law scoffed. "We'll see about that. We're his parents. We have rights. You're just the wife. You're not blood. Just the wife." The words hit me harder than any physical blow. The years we spent together, the life we built, the love we shared. Did it mean nothing? To them, I was just a temporary fixture in their son's life. Now that he was gone, I was disposable. They told me to pack a bag and that I could stay with my parents. They said they needed to preserve Mark's legacy and that my presence was a painful reminder. A painful reminder? His absence was a gaping wound in my soul, and they were pouring salt in it. They were not grieving with me. They were competing with me. It was as if they believed their pain was more valid than mine. I was in shock, but I knew I couldn't just leave. This was my home. I called the police. When the officers arrived, the situation became even more surreal. My in-laws presented a story of a grieving, hysterical widow who was not in her right mind. They painted themselves as concerned parents, stepping in to manage their late son's affairs. Because they had established a presence in the house and had changed the locks, the police said it was a civil matter. They couldn't force them to leave. They advised me to contact a lawyer. So there I was, standing on the lawn of my own home, locked out, with my entire life being dismantled by the people I once called family. My husband had been gone for less than a week, and I was already fighting for the home we had built together. The grief for Mark was now tangled with a new kind of pain, betrayal, a profound, soul-crushing betrayal. That night, I stayed at a friend's house, numb and utterly broken. The next morning, I called a lawyer. The legal battle that followed was long, expensive, and emotionally draining. They fought me every step of the way. They tried to claim that Mark had intended for them to have the house, that I had somehow manipulated him. They used our shared grief as a weapon, trying to paint me as uncaring and greedy. Every document, every court appearance, was like reliving the trauma. I had to prove my love for my husband, prove the validity of our marriage, prove my right to our home, all while trying to navigate the crippling sorrow of his loss. Some days I wanted to give up, just let them have it, just to make the pain stop. But then I would think of Mark. I would think of the love and laughter that filled that house. It wasn't just wood and bricks, it was the container of our life together. Giving it up felt like giving up the last tangible piece of him. It took almost a year of legal fees, sleepless nights, and constant stress. A year where my grief had no space to breathe, suffocated by conflict. In the end, the law was on my side. The house was legally mine, and the court ordered them to vacate the property and return my belongings. The day I finally got my keys back, I walked into a house that felt both familiar and alien. They had left, but their presence lingered like a bad odor. They had moved furniture, packed away my personal items, and left their own things behind. The walls that once echoed with love now seemed to hold the echoes of arguments and bitterness. It took me months to reclaim the space, to slowly, painfully, turn it back into my home, not theirs, not even ours anymore, but mine. This experience taught me a brutal lesson about people. It showed me that sometimes the face people show you in good times is not who they are in the bad. Grief can do strange things to people, but it can also reveal what was always hidden beneath the surface. My in-laws didn't suddenly become these cruel strangers. The potential was always there. Their love for me was conditional, tied entirely to their son. When he was gone, so was their love. I'm sharing this story not for pity, but as a warning. Protect yourself. Have those difficult conversations about wills and legal documents, no matter how young and healthy you are. Understand your rights, because when tragedy strikes, the last thing you should have to fight for is your own home and your own sanity. My relationship with Mark's parents is gone, completely severed. I lost my husband, and in the cruelest twist, I lost the family that came with him too. Rebuilding my life has been the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but I'm doing it, one day at a time. I'm filling my home with new memories, with my own strength, and with the enduring love I will always have for Mark. A love that no one can ever take away from me. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, please know you are not alone. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about navigating life's unexpected challenges.